From the studios of Farm Journal Broadcast, this is AgDay.
Coming up today on AgDay, USDA prepares to release its updated crop yield and production numbers.
I think that we are already trading a fairly large crop, maybe in the 177, 178 range.
But it's what's revealed with the corn crop worldwide that some analysts are watching. As drought grips Missouri's farmland,
there's been some fields appraised under 10 bushel an acre, right at 10.
It's dwindling hopes of a better than expected corn crop this year. In agribusiness, getting a marketing game plan together before the big report.
You know, the August report is interesting because it is still just a guess. It's a stepping stone. We're not in the fields doing field checks yet.
AgDay, presented by the Chevy Silverado. High-strength steel for high-strength dependability.
Good morning and welcome to the special edition of AgDay. I'm Tyne Morgan, filling in for Clinton Griffiths from the DeKalb Asgrow Technology Showcase near Golden Gate, Illinois. As growers look to reap agronomic information firsthand, we'll share some insight into what you should be thinking about for harvest prep later on the show. But first, let's get to our top story. It's a big day Friday as USDA is set to release its latest WASDE numbers, which will give growers an updated look at crop size expectations. And as agriculture awaits USDA to reveal its latest crop projections, pre-report estimates from the trade are starting to roll out. The average trade guess for the corn yield is 176.3 bushels per acre, which is just shy of last year's record corn yield. The average estimate on corn production is 14.4 billion bushels. Now on soybeans, the trade thinks USDA will place yield just under 50 bushels per acre at 49.8. Crop production is pegged at 4.42 billion bushels. And moving to wheat, the guess is 1.85 billion bushels for all wheat production. Now, despite much of the talk being about the domestic crops, Chip Nellinger of Blue Reef Agri-Marketing says the world number is what he's keeping his eye on.
I think that we are already trading a fairly large crop, maybe in the 177, 178 range. But in the end result, the bottom line may be shocking to some people because even if it is that big, and I'm not convinced it is yet, a 178 crop, it comes down to the world numbers. And if the world continues to shrink, particularly the European crop, the Black Sea area, Ukraine and Russia, if you cut that corn crop more and the wheat crop more, the ultimate size of the crop could still be record and we could rally. It could be a little bit of a shocking reaction.
Well, the world corn number could be an evolving story for the corn market this year, but much of the talk today is the U.S. corn crop. With record crop condition numbers, some in the industry think that we could have a possible record corn yield this year. However, it's states like Missouri struggling to make a crop this year, and it's a state that saw bountiful bushels last year.
The bean plants have set most of their pods right now.
For Missouri farmer Daniel Carpenter,
you pull a pod off the lower node and they've got beans. They're starting to fill out pretty well.
It's a year of hurdles.
Okay. Really going to need some rain to push those pods, that bean size a little larger.
And the biggest hurdle is rain.
When we started back in June, and if you look at a lot of these ears on the outside, they are filled out quite well.
But if you take a few steps into the field,
we've got quite a bit of tip back and obviously a much lower quality size of ear.
The bushels are lacking in a year when prices are also posing pain.
This year we've just been missing all kinds of showers.
Some fields look better than others, and those fields only seen as much as 5 inches of rain all season. And Carpenter says it's fields like this that are showing more promise than most.
Top end what we've been seeing in this area right around here is probably close to 120.
That's 100 bushels per acre less than last year, indicating the better than expected yield story may not be in the cards for Missouri farmers this year.
I feel like if we don't get much more rain to fill out kernels and add weight to them, we're looking at 50% at least right now of what we produced last year, and if we don't get much more rain here in the next couple weeks, it's going to be a little bit less than that even.
Fields already being appraised by insurance adjusters are showing just how deep the scars of the 2018 drought may be, with some yields in the single digits.
There's been some fields appraised under 10 bushel an acre, right at 10, some even down to 0, close to 0. There's going to be a lot of 0 out in the hills, and rainfall was the biggest factor in that.
As analysts from outside Missouri trek through fields and assess the damage this year, it's eating away at their yield expectations too.
We saw a lot of pollination issues, small ears, and a couple of the fields that I looked at were probably 40 to 50 bushel less than what I was maybe expecting to see.
The headline for Missouri's harvest this year may be the variability in fields.
It's variable. It's really variable depending on where you're at.
This fall when we go in the combine, we're going to hit some patches that will be actually 0, and then hit some areas that the roots were down and caught some of that subsoil. So the yield monitor will be all over the board this year.
An aerial view shows the marks of this year's drought and the variability of the crop, with pockets of the field toast from high heat and little rain.
If you get a drone or any sort of aerial vehicle up in the air, you can tell right to the line where the soil types are.
It's impacting not only yield, but plant health.
There's a lot of it that's good, healthy green still, and a lot of it around the area too that's really starting to dry out and burn up pretty quick.
As the corn dries up, it's a stark resemblance of the drought of 2012.
You know, we had similar conditions in 2012, but we had the price support to back that up, and we were still able to make something out of it. This year, with the price support we have being very minimal, it's low yield and low price does not equate to a whole lot.
Reality that's mixed with the hope of surviving the unpredictability of farming another year.
The thing is, there's going to be a yield, and we'll harvest it and make some decisions and plans and go again next year.
Now, while Missouri's crops are struggling, looking at the other end of the spectrum, Nebraska and North Dakota are topping the charts with this year's corn crop. Both are registering 85% good to excellent. Illinois and Wisconsin come in second with 81%. Turning to soybeans, Nebraska again leads the way with 84% good to excellent. Wisconsin is second with 80% in that category. New numbers show more dairy farmers are exiting the business, and a new dairy insurance service is offering an insurance plan for dairy producers, much like crop insurance. American Farm Bureau's insurance service is offering the policy, and it's backed by USDA's risk management agency. The program insures against unexpected declines in quarterly milk sales. Called Dairy Revenue Protection, it insures for the difference between the final revenue guarantee and actual milk revenue if prices fall. It also provides a greater choice of prices, including those that focus on cheese to fresh milk, protein, or butter fat. Coverage levels range from 70 to 95% of revenue, and it's available in all 50 states. Now, those that sign up can still participate in USDA's margin protection plan. And even Congressman Colin Peterson, one of the authors of MPP, admits this new insurance policy may be a better fit for dairy producers.
The solution long term to this dairy thing is this new Farm Bureau revenue policy. If any indication, you know, the corn and soybeans and these other crops are any indication, you know, it's popular with farmers, and it's going to have the crop insurance agents out there explaining it to people and selling it to people instead of the FSA, which are night salesmen. That's been part of the problem.
To find an agent or insurance provider, go to the website on the screen or visit dairyrp.com. Well, it's time now to get a look at your crop comments this morning. To do that, let's head back to the studio and check in with Mike Hoffman. Good morning, Mike.
Good morning, Tyne. We took our crop comments from AgWeb this morning. A farmer from Hyde County, North Carolina says they've received more than 13 inches of rain over the past month. Year to date, better than 4 feet of rain. The farmer says it's just too much rain all growing season. He says cotton and late planted soybeans are suffering. Now, taking a look at the wind speed forecast as we head through the day today, it'll get windy in some of the thunderstorms across the southern plains. Other than that, not too bad. We'll have your forecast coming up, but first, here are some hometown temps.
Plan for the unexpected with weather forecast updates. Local forecasts are delivered right to your cell phone each morning, making planning a little bit easier. Just text Weather 6 to 31313 to get started.
Still to come on the special edition of Ag Day from the Southern Illinois DeKalb and Agro Technology Showcase, we'll get a look at what to expect on USDA's report coming up on Friday. That's with Brian Splitt and Steve Georgie. Plus, a special Farm Journal College segment on evaluating and saving yield in the field.
Ag Day, brought to you by the consistent performance of DeKalb and Asgrow, backed by 100% exclusive genetics for superior yield potential year after year. Ask your dealer or learn more at DeKalbAsgrow.com.
Well, welcome back to the special edition of Ag Day. Steve Georgie, Brian Splitt with me, both of Allendale here in the field, talking about this big USDA report. That's what we've been talking about in the show. But really, when we look at it, how close usually is USDA with yield when it comes to this August report, Steve?
You know, the August report is interesting because it is still just a guess. It's a stepping stone. We're not in the fields doing field checks yet. It's still a little bit early. And so when you look at how accurate are they really, 11 out of the last 20 years, they've been 4 bushel off either way. And so it's variable, as we've talked about before. But when we look at how accurate they are, it is just a stepping stone. So I think that when you look at this number on Friday, it is going to be just that, and I think we need to take it at surface level.
And you know, when you look at the pre-trade estimates, I mean, we've seen estimates down as low as in the low 170s, up above 180 when it comes to some of these. So these estimates are all across the board, but where does Allendale stand today?
Allendale's using a 177 currently, and that would just be 0.4 bushels per acre above the current record of 176.6 bushels per acre. But I think the thing to understand is we could still see a new record yield and have that be, to me, price supportive, because we still have carryout levels that are below 2 billion bushels, and I think the market's still going to want to go higher if we get a number like that.
So even if we see an increase in this report on Friday when it comes to the corn yield, it could still be friendly price?
Could still be friendly. I think the bulk of the estimates are hanging around between 175 to 178 bushels per acre. So I think you need to see a number that's above 178 to the 180 bushel per acre number to get the market to feel like it wants to go back down and retest some of the support below the market.
Demand has been so good with corn, and so do you expect any changes on the demand side of the ledger come Friday?
You know, I really don't. When you look at weekly export sales have been very strong yet, and so that's good. When you look at corn specifically and we look at carry-out numbers, it is the demand, but it's global demand. And so it's what kind of global demand are we going to see? Is that we're going to remain strong? We feel that it will.
Real quick, let's hit on soybeans. You know, we've seen soybeans here. They look great, but they need some moisture to fill out, and it's still so early in that. So do you expect USDA to change soybean yield this early in the game?
Typically they will, but interestingly, only 6 of the past 20 years they've increased yields on this report for soybeans. So statistically, this would actually be a friendly report. So when you look at the type of yield change that we would see, it's to the average of 2.4% if they do increase yield. That would still be below 50 bushels per acre.
So do you expect this to possibly be a friendly report for soybeans as well?
You know, I think it can, but I think the market attitude is really what's going to carry this, because we've got big ending stocks currently. We're looking for ending stocks to increase, but I think it's the market attitude that we need to look for. What's going on with tariffs? What's going on with China? What's going on with things like that have been pushing this market around? I think we need to remain focused on that. This report, as I said before, is only a stepping stone.
Right.
Continue watching headlines.
All right, keep an eye on all of it. Thank you so much for joining us. We need to take a quick break, and then we'll be back with a check of weather here on the special report of Ag Day.
To talk to Steve Georgie one-on-one, call Allendale Incorporated at 800-262-7538 or head online to allendale-inc.com. To talk to Brian Splitt one-on-one, call Allendale Incorporated at 800-551-4626 or email him at bsplitt@allendale-inc.com.
And welcome back to Ag Day. I'm meteorologist Mike Hoffman. Boy, this front is going well into the southern plains and even into the southwest, cooling things down, but also bringing some much needed rain. As we see that front slowly settling into Texas, there will be some complexes of thunderstorms, giving some folks a lot of rain, other places not so much. But at least we have that decent chance now. And you can see there will be scattered areas through the southeast and up into parts of the northeast. Secondary front coming across the Great Lakes will have some spotty showers and thunderstorms with it as well. Not a lot going on across the northwest, as most systems you can kind of see out there offshore. Now, heading through the day tomorrow, front still settling toward the Gulf Coast with showers and thunderstorms pretty close to the front, hit and miss through the southwest as is typical this time of the year, and through the southeast. Now then we have an upper level low going to be settling into the Great Lakes over the weekend, and that'll be that spotty afternoon variety stuff. That will settle farther southward on Saturday and Sunday. Precipitation estimate over the past 24 hours, you can see some areas of showers and thunderstorms have put down up to a ½ inch to an inch in many places from Oklahoma all the way into the northeast. Adding in the next 36 hours, we'll just spread all of that a little farther south. All depends on where these thunderstorms form, whether they hit your farm or not. Taking a look at the heat. Still kind of hot behind that those frontal systems, but it's a drier heat across the northern plains than you've seen. Muggy through the southeast and the southern plains. Low temperatures tonight going to drop off into the 60s across most of the Corn Belt, as you can see, but 70s into the southeast. And high temperatures tomorrow, still going to be warm throughout the plain states. It'll be muggy through the far southeast, but slightly cooler air coming southward. I know that's still low 80s, but that's a far cry from the 90s and triple digits. some folks have been seeing. Here's the jet stream, and you can see the overall trough kind of digs into the northeast, and there's that cutoff right over the Great Lakes for Sunday into Monday. Another trough digging into the Great Lakes in the northeast as we head into the middle of next week. Generally a ridge out west. That'll keep a lot of folks on the hot side out that way. That's a look across the country. Now let's take a look at some local forecasts. First of all, for Roswell, New Mexico, a mix of clouds and sunshine, not as hot, high of 92. Ortonville, Minnesota, lots of sunshine, rather warm, high of 84. And Knoxville, Tennessee, variably cloudy, an afternoon thunderstorm around, high 85.
Thanks so much. Still to come, harvest is right around the corner for some, with ears already starting to drop in the field behind me. We'll have a special Farm Journal College getting you prepped for game time. Plus an early start to the barley harvest, and that's not good news in Europe. Well, welcome back to this special edition of Ag Day from the DeKalb and AgDay Technology Showcase here right outside of Golden Gate, Illinois. We've seen crop conditions on the way down, but when we got here, you know, Jessica, I'll start with you. I noticed how dry it had been in some areas. And so is that dryness something that's plagued this area this year?
It's kind of been variable. So okay. We started off in really good conditions for planting, got some rain got rain a little bit later and turned off back dry. And here now going into grain fill period, we're kind of suffering. We will take every good rain we can get this time of year to really drive the yields, to really drive the performance. But as you head into other parts of southern Illinois specifically, they've been really blessed with some timely rains, more than 2 or 3 tenths at a time. And so, yeah, it's highly variable to say the least.
Well, Jessica, that corn may have missed it, but Jared, it looks like those soybeans really need it right now. It looks like we have some pods that need to fill out, and it seems like rain is the recipe right now to help those beans finish strong.
Absolutely, Tyne. So right now, a lot of the soybeans are entering the R5 growth stage, which is where the soybean is actually filling within the pod. And that's a critical stage to have adequate moisture, because those beans can easily abort and will lose a lot of yield in a hurry if we're under drought stress. So the field right here behind us of soybeans is at that stage, and we can see, you know, easily in the next week we could lose 5 to 10 bushels if we don't get a rain.
Wow. Jessica, you know, looking at the yield that we do have there on both corn and beans, what can producers be doing now to save the yield that is there?
Right. So, you know, we're definitely past, you know, the protection part of a fungicide application. We, of course, see our most consistent results at a VT or R1 application stage with corn, pushing that, you know, R2, R3 stage with soybeans. So really paying attention to insect pressure, diseases, other things like that to keep that plant health up. But really just, you know, a lot of faith and praying for a rain is really what might save us on this abortion portion right now.
And I've seen some ears already starting to drop in the field, Jared. So heading into harvest, you know, what's some advice you have for harvest prep?
Yeah, absolutely. I'd encourage growers to get out and scout their fields, because we've had a lot of heat accumulation this summer. Wow. The crops really advance more rapidly than they might expect, and so in some areas you might have very green corn that is nearing, you know, harvest moisture and maybe quicker than you think. The other thing is, if you've got stress, those ears are turning down, get out and check the stalk strength, because that plant is going to start pulling from that stalk to try to finish off, and the stalks can get weak.
All right, thank you both for being here. We appreciate it. We need to take a quick break, and then we'll have more of the special edition of Ag Day.
In the Country, brought to you by Kubota's M7060, built to get the job done. See KubotaUSA.com or your local Kubota dealer for more information.
Welcome back. Well, drought may be plaguing some fields here in the U.S., but it's the long-lasting drought in northern Europe that may soon hit beer drinkers. Barley crops have fried under the hot and dry weather, raising potential problems for brewers. Yields in key producers in Scandinavia, northern Germany, and the Baltic countries could be 30 to 40% below normal. The European Space Agency released some satellite images over Denmark and Sweden that illustrates the heat wave. The images compare mid-June to now, and you can see the dramatic changes there. European grain traders say barley prices are already surging and costs will need to be passed down the supply chain. Some German brewers are starting to increase beer prices. For farmers who are able to make a crop this year, harvest is 3 to 4 weeks earlier than usual. The hot weather is also lowering the quality of barley, meaning there will likely be a surplus of grain that's only usable for livestock feed. Well, that wraps up our special edition of Ag Day. A big thanks to AgDay and DeKalb for having us out today. For everyone at Ag Day, I'm Tyne Morgan. Have a great day in farm country.
AgDay, brought to you by the consistent performance of DeKalb and AgDay, backed by 100% exclusive genetics for superior yield potential year after year. Ask your dealer or learn more at DeKalbAgDay.com.